bikepacking section of the ride. Got my rig on the back. It's about 160k to Sault after an hour and a half train from Nice. So it's a bit of a lengthy journey, but it's very pretty out here. Beautiful weather. Looking forward to a bit of easy zone 2 riding out here. Did this once before, a few weeks ago when I came out here. It was pretty enjoyable. It's warming up on the base of the climb now. It is fresh out here. It starts with a little descent. Gonna not go crazy on that descent. Don't want to crash before the effort even starts, but don't want to lose too much time either. All right, let's go. The KOM for this side up Mont Ventoux from Sault is held by Thomas, and he set the time in 2020 on a cool Frankenstein road bike TT crossover with a disc wheel. And his time actually managed to withstand the Tour de France coming through in 2021. This is the profile from that day, and they first went up from Sault and then from Bedouin, which is the more famous side. So luckily for me, they didn't go crazy fast, and they went just slower than Thomas, and around 58 minutes, both in the breakaway and the main peloton. And on that day, Wolf and Art won from the breakaway with a pretty incredible stage. I'll link that highlight in the description. That's Chalet Renard on the right. You pass that from Bedouin and from Sault, but not from Malacine. You can see it's quite nice up here on this attempt. We'll see how it is for the second attempt later. It's the Strava post. I was 56 seconds off the KOM for that first time. Average 3:59. Oh, just finished the effort. Missed the KOM by about a minute. Which means I'll have to come back another time. I can definitely get it, but look at this view. Oh, it's incredible. Incredible. If you ever find yourself staying in Nice and thinking about riding Ventoux, I would recommend this train plus ride. It's pretty beautiful roads on the way from Les Arcs to Sault. This is a sped up clip of how I fuel for these rides. I start with sugar in my bottles and then bring a Ziploc bag with extra. And I'm normally aiming to get around 75 to 100 or even more grams an hour, depending on what kind of intensity I'm doing. Obviously this ride out was not super intense, but lots of beautiful villages on the way through. The winds can be really strong in this area, so the second time I came out, I had a crazy like 30k plus headwind the whole way out, which made it take an extra 30 to 45 minutes compared to the first time. I made it. This is Sault. This is the view from the room where I was staying in Sault. I found the room on Airbnb, but then booked directly with Valentin for the second trip. It's a beautiful dusk. That's the top of Mont Ventoux over there, lit up by the sunset. You can really see the peak from almost anywhere around here. And then down here we have what's for dinner tonight. I'm doing a short, easy spin today after the bikepacking yesterday. The wind is pretty bad today for Ventoux, so I'm gonna try to do the effort tomorrow. It'll be a little bit tight getting out because I'm only staying the 2 nights. So many goats. Lavender fields there. It's the quintessential Provence. This road that you're seeing here, the Gorge de Ness, I think is maybe better than riding Ventoux if you're gonna come to this area. What? That's a sick arch. Look at this road. I would definitely recommend it. There are these natural arch tunnels on the road, and then this valley down below. It's really stunning, and almost no cars. It's quite windy out, as you can see by those flags on the trees, and pretty cloudy up on top of Ventoux this morning. I'm doing a short warm-up on the lower slopes of the climb. It's a bit tough to actually get warm, because it's quite chilly out here. Not much sun, and If we look that way, that's Mont Ventoux. It's gonna be in the clouds up there. Probably hitting the cloud layer at about around Chalet Renard. The wind is good, better than last time. Got the croissant skin suit on for the culture. I think my pacing is gonna be just going off the live segment, just doing whatever I have to stay ahead of the KOM time on these bottom slopes. And then there is a flat section before Chalet Renard, so hopefully just staying arrow and not losing any time there. And then the real crunch is the last 15 or so minutes after Chalet Renard to the top. That's the steepest section. The wind is probably going to be pretty gnarly up there. Yeah, that's where I got to dig deep and do probably around 380, 390 up at altitude. Let's get it. We're back for round 2 on this descent. Here we go. A little bit of super tuck, but my chest cam hit the stem, so I had to adjust a little bit there. Last time I did this, I had a fairly slight wind from the north, which seems like the wind is either north or south. And this time I had a really strong wind from the south, versus just a couple days earlier I had that north wind that I battled into for the bike pack out to Sault. But luckily it flipped around and was a pretty nice tailwind for this bottom section. I passed a couple intrepid cyclists coming up the climb. Honestly, if I was out here riding for fun and I saw those clouds, I don't think I would be heading up to Ventoux. I apologize for this slightly disconcerting chin cam as I'm getting arrow, but as we get higher up I'll sit up a bit more and hopefully the camera angle will improve. You can see even from last time the trees have changed quite a bit more fall yellow and red colors. It was quite pretty, but this is where we start to get into the cloud layer, and it pretty quickly becomes low visibility. You'll see here around 1200 meters, 1300 meters around Chalet Renard, it gets pretty soupy. But it honestly wasn't that cold or unpleasant. It can actually be pretty fast riding through conditions like this. Yeah, I wasn't feeling cold on the bike. I mean, I have my arm warmers there. If I wanted to pull them up, because I wasn't sure quite how cold it would be, I have to hit the brakes there for the first time. It doesn't look like you should hit the brakes, and I definitely didn't need to, but I think the camera can show just how low the visibility is, and I was a little bit sketched out with the wet roads and not really being able to see where I was going. And then you'll recognize this section after Chalet Renard. Weren't many people up here, but still a few people, surprisingly. And I did quite a bit more power for this last section on the second attempt than the first, even though the overall average for the effort was only 2 watts higher. This section was, I think, about 10 or 11 watts higher. So it was a bit more of a dynamic pace for the second one. I thought I would be able to just do more power overall and go a lot faster, especially after my Col de Turini effort. If you want to see that video on my channel where I did 381 for 44 minutes, up to also pretty high elevation at 1600 meters. I thought I'd be able to do at least 370 average for the effort, but I think the ride out into that headwind and the unfamiliar setting definitely hurt my legs a little bit, as well as not being able to do quite the warm-up that I would have liked, given the conditions and the time constraints that I had. Because with the timing of this, I really needed to get the effort done so that I could start heading back to Nice, because I didn't have another night booked at the accommodation in Sault. This last section had a few bits into the wind, so it was really like saving my legs to push as hard as I could into the head or crosswind and then backing off. There's a couple people taking photos there at the top in these absolutely miserable conditions. I don't know what their photo would look like. I could barely see them from a few meters away. And this is around where it started to get pretty crazy with the wind. You can see lots of riding on the road, but as I turn this corner, the wind just absolutely whacks me, and I'm like barely keeping the bike on the road. It's pushing me towards those rocks, and I like barely keep it in between those poles, and it was a bit frightening at this point. One of the stronger winds that I've felt, but I knew that I had just like a couple hundred meters to the summit up here, so I kept pushing, and I made it. Didn't die, luckily. But then once I got to the summit, I was a little bit unsure what to do exactly. You can hear my brakes squealing again, and there's the live segment finishing on my Garmin. And I got the KOM 5703, got it by about 45 seconds.
What the fuck?
At this point I was trying to figure out how to get off the summit because the wind was so strong that I didn't feel safe riding, and then I actually couldn't even really walk. You can see someone running down the summit there. I got down here and I thought I'd be able to get around that corner and be okay, but my bike was flying off. Maybe I need a heavier bike. Found a little break in the gusts and managed to walk down off the summit and found this nice family whose daughter also did the climb and were similarly shocked by the really sudden, dramatic shift in the conditions, and they gave me a ride down.
That was quite dramatic, but at least I got the KOM. The last 500 meters, the wind just picked up to an insane degree, and I could not even really keep my bike on the road, and it was crazy. And then I stopped and I couldn't even walk safely and stay upright. My legs honestly felt pretty bad the whole time, but yeah, I just gritted my teeth and kept pushing against the live segment. There were big chunks of tailwind, but then when I did hit a cross or a headwind, it was insanely strong. So it was kind of a weird effort where I was really backing off the power and then having to go extremely hard into the headwind. But I mean, I guess we got it done. Definitely don't think I would go up in those conditions again. Yeah, now I got to get back to Nice, and my original plan is definitely a bit scuppered by this extra 40k of riding to get back to Sault. So probably gonna have to look for a different train station. I'll see, go through Marseille, and yeah, it'll be a long day, but anything should feel easy after that.
It was raining for the whole ride to the train station after that clip, so I didn't record much else than these sheep, but it wasn't too bad. Mostly downhill from Sault to Carpentras, where I caught the train through Marseille and back to Nice. That's enough of Ventoux for this year, but I'll be back next year to try Bédouin and Malocène. I think Bédouin top 10 is possible with really good legs or a lead out, but Poggy's time is obviously untouchable. And then for Malocène, I can KOM that one. It's a pretty similar level.